few months before, that is January of 8th, Tesla registered in India as Tesla Indian Motors. So everyone, including me, was really excited about this because Tesla was officially coming to India. So I sat on it, I thought about it for some time, expecting on how things would be rolling out, and then some of the, the dark side of the story started showing up on me. You see, Tesla is an expensive car company. Okay, even in the United States, Tesla is expensive. All right, it's an electric vehicle, it's good for the environment, it's good to pay a bit more money because you're doing it for the greater good, but it's still expensive, and India doesn't like expensive. Even in the United States, the base version of Tesla's cheapest vehicle, Model 3, which is actually on the earlier stages of its production, has a cost of $35,000, which roughly translates to around 25 lakh Indian rupees. And that's a very expensive vehicle for most Indians. Usually the Indian vehicles sell around for 6 to 10 lakhs, and around 10 to 15 lakhs goes to the more expensive side of vehicles. So paying 25 lakhs for an electric vehicle doesn't actually make sense for most Indians. And actually, when you look at all of this in Tesla's perspective as a company, it actually makes much lesser sense. You see, the most important thing for any kind of electric vehicles to set up its roots in any company is first of all charging stations, because you need a good enough charging network spread throughout the country to actually make electric vehicles sell. So, okay, so what you're expecting is, okay, there are going to be a lot of companies which is going to be interested in India because it's such a huge market, 1.2 billion people, with most of them being adults. There's going to be a huge amount of people who's going to be buying electric vehicles. Well, that's one good reason, but okay. You see, Tesla is the only major player in electric vehicles in the world. Okay, the German car companies like Volkswagen and everyone else, and also the American car companies like Ford and all of them. Okay, those companies are really big, but Tesla is the single biggest dominant player in electric vehicles. And everyone knows that electric vehicles are the future. So all these companies, including Volkswagen, Ford, etc., they're just focusing on bringing the EVs up and running. They're shifting the entire car business onto electric from gasoline. So when you talk about that, and when you look at how things are moving in that direction, Volkswagen is the only company who have a good enough plan to move into the EV department anytime soon. And for companies like Volkswagen, Ford, and also Toyota, see, for them, the biggest market is not India. Their focus is entirely on the United States, China, Europe. So they want these markets to actually be prospering. Okay, they want themselves to have a strong foothold on these markets before spreading out to much more challenging markets like India. So don't expect companies like Volkswagen, etc., to just bring on money onto India to set up charging networks here. They will rather be on the next at least 5 to 8 years. They will be focused on these Western markets as well as Japanese, Chinese. The more markets with a higher economy, the better economy. They will be focused on those markets in the beginning first before showing a larger focus to India. So what I'm trying to say here is, if India's charging charging station situation is already poor now, if you're expecting this intense competition to actually improve the situation, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So what happened in the United States? How did Tesla come into the position it is if there was no one to make the charging stations for Tesla? Well, in the United States, actually, most of the charging stations that exist in the country, it is built by Tesla. It's known as Tesla's supercharger network. So, okay, what can that happen in India as well? Well, you see, when Tesla's supercharging network, if that has to come into India, Tesla needs to have a good enough plan for India. And does they actually have it? Okay, so most car companies actually manufacture their cars from suppliers or from supply chain methods. That is, an external party manufacturers, they have components sourced from all around the globe and stuff like that. So basically, a manufacturing of components are done, and then these components are assembled in some other different part of the globe. But Tesla is different. Until now, Tesla has been building gigafactories, which is basically a factory on steroids. So they have multiple ones in the United States, they are opening new ones in Europe, they are constructing ones in China. So they have almost spread it around all the important regions except for India. And in India, if you want to buy a Tesla, at the moment you have to import it. And import taxes in Tesla is 100%, or basically you're just paying double the amount of money to just buy a car in India. So actually importing, so therefore importing a car in India is actually not a good method, because people don't even want to pay such a huge amount of price for the existing price of Tesla, much less double the amount. Okay, so what is Tesla going to do? Actually, Tesla doesn't have a solid plan for any type of gigafactory to open in India, at least made public yet. And why is that the case? Well, there are tons of problems. When they are expecting themselves to invest so much on a factory, they actually should be expecting a good enough response from the consumers. And that basically means that they should have a good enough car with a good enough price to sell in India. I'm talking about 10 to 12 lakhs, and that's really hard. I mean, have you actually seen the kind of technology Tesla uses inside their vehicles? Those cost money and they are not coming cheap. And selling something like that for like 15 to 12 lakhs on India, it's hard. Okay, so you can argue that Tesla can introduce some of the technologies, they can cut the corners, but just look at Apple. Okay, how much do you actually expect Apple to go down or Apple to cut from their phone so that they can just make it cheaper? Same thing. Okay, there are tons of stuff that make Tesla a Tesla, which Tesla can simply remove so that they can make it cheaper. And talking about technologies that Tesla simply cannot leave behind, there is just one big one, the self-driving technology or the autonomous driving technology. Okay, so it's pretty sure that Tesla is not going to release a car without autonomous pilot in at least one of its models. And that's a huge problem because in India, autopilot is just unbelievable to imagine. Okay, Indian roads are like totally different from what Tesla has seen. And that's because most of the roads in India, apart from the one really good highway roads, they don't have any kinds of markings or any kinds of like street signs at the places as you expect them to be. So that's a huge problem because for an AI, that's for even a human, okay, going through Indian roads for even a human is hard, and just forget about how things would be for an AI. But of course, it's attainable. We can Tesla or any kind of AI can actually attain that level, but that requires more money and more investment, which is just makes it a huge challenge for Tesla to just launch an autopilot and in a larger scale of things to launch a car in India. So add to that the situation of batteries in India. Okay, as of now, there is not even a single working lithium-ion battery manufacturing plant in India. Not even a single one. So basically, if you want a battery in your vehicle in India, you have to import it from other countries, and that has taxes. For companies which is just trying to cut corners as much as possible, that's a really bad thing. I mean, you don't even have a single plant in India. And also, if there are rumors that a new lithium-ion battery plant is coming in India, but we are actually moving past the lithium-ion battery. New battery technologies, the solid-state batteries, experimenting with new kind of chemicals are coming, and we are just starting with lithium batteries. Now, how demotivating is that for a company who just has no actual reason to spend so much on one single country? So yeah, I think you're getting the idea, right? There's so much huge amount of challenges that Tesla has to overcome to just make a factory in India. Okay, then there are arguments like car is not basically the only type of vehicle that you can sell. Okay, India has a huge amount of other vehicles such as motor vehicles, two-wheelers, and also at the same time we have auto rickshaws, which is a huge market. And that's where we actually arrive at the next reason why Tesla is a bad idea for Indians. And you see, as an Indian, okay, if it's actually beneficial for India if Tesla slows down. Because as of now, there are tons of baby EV Indian companies ready to break onto the scene, one of them being Pravik. And if these companies can just be on time, like in the next 3 to 5 years, launch big and good enough vehicles, I'm not talking about cars, I'm talking about rickshaws, trucks, or vehicles like that. If they can do it in India, if the government can help these companies to set up charging networks, then India will be actually saturated by Indian EV makers rather than companies like Tesla. And that's actually a good thing, because when you have companies like Tesla, which is basically an American company, having a monopoly in India, it's actually a bad thing, because anything in the hands of America is not a good thing to have. So if you have all those EV companies which are able to actually nurture themselves at this time and bring on big solid vehicles onto the market, then it's going to be a huge success for India and Indian EV companies. As of now, there is literally nobody in the Indian EV market, so it's like a free market. And since the future is EV, okay, the future world is actually, well, if India can do it, then it's in India's hands, because when you have a national level electric vehicle market setup, it's actually not that hard to go international. And when the future is completely on electric, Indian vehicle companies can actually have a significant role, like the German ones and the American ones, the global space. So that's a huge promise. We can't simply let Indian companies just let go of. And also at the same time, if Indian companies actually get a good start, okay, for anybody buying a vehicle in India, they just hold it on like for 10 to 15 years. They don't just change it. Okay, it's like there are people in India who treat vehicles as actual human beings. So they're nurturing them, loving them to 10 to 15 years. And if any company is able to get that kind of commitment from customers, then it's a good thing. Okay, like there is no chance if Tesla comes in the next 5 years. Well, these EV companies are already good here. Okay, there's no chance Tesla can get a good enough market share. And these EV companies that can safely expand within India, go international in the next few years, and also become a global player in like 15 years. And there are EV companies who are actually in the verge of making huge breakthroughs. So that's what I'm saying. It's actually good for India if Tesla doesn't come into India. Okay, it would sound counterintuitive for most of you, but that's actually how things should happen if it's for the betterment of everybody in India. Okay, so yeah, that's for this video. I think I was really good at explaining on all the points on Tesla's part as well as India's part. And I hope you'll be here for the next one. See you then. Peace.